Show. Peter G. Show. Divorced dad, single dad, divorced dad, single dad. Peter G. Show.
Sunday night. Sunday's fun day. Right here, right now. Doesn't get any better than this, folks. I mean it. We put the fun in Sunday night. How the hell is everybody? Give everybody a chance to catch up, tune in, grab an adult beverage, sit back, pop the popcorn, get ready to rumble. Tonight's going to be a good night. It's going to be a great night, as always. I'm excited. Takes me all week just to get to this point. Takes us all week. I mean, when I say us, I mean everybody. Just to get to this point. This part of the night. It's part of our lives. And I want to make it count. Life is short. Make it count. It's getting shorter. It's too. Anyway, great night tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. Another beautiful week. The temperatures are dropping. Starting to get a little bit chilly. Come the fall weather. Halloween next week. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, here comes that sound. That's right. The official start of the official Peter G. Show. Live. Right here. I want to remind everybody to tune into, if you're logged into YouTube, you can comment live. Boots! Saying hello. Love you, Boots. Life is good. So long as we're all here, life is good. But if you're on the YouTube live, you can comment live. Or like my friend Boots, longtime friend, you could be on LinkedIn and comment live. Pastor Ray. God bless you, Pastor Ray. I hope to get you on my show, too. Commenting from Facebook Live, the official Peter G. Show page. Facebook Live, but you got to be on the official Peter G. Show page. Because the private pages, the Peter G. Gisellas, Peter Gisella, all the other pages, you can't comment live. You can watch the show, but you can't comment live. But tonight's going to be a great night, and I thank each and every one of you, as I always do, because it takes each and every one of you to make this what it is, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I know life is pretty busy, and there's plenty of things to do, but hey, you don't want to miss this. Last week, I thank you again for everybody putting up with me getting on my soapbox. It was that time of that quarter of me getting up there and talking about current events, which makes a lot of people happy and pisses a lot of people off. Depends, how your thinking process goes. But all I'm here to do is to bring it to the forefront. Did I tell you how much gas is a gallon? Tonight I got somebody from Australia, down under. It's going to be my first Aussie. That's right. First time. But we'll talk about that in a second, too. Lots to talk about. But last week, it was time for me to rant a little bit because I collect a lot of stuff and I don't have time to talk about it. And again, it's not about ranting. It's not about me playing these things and whether you like them or not. It's to bring things to your attention, whether you like it or not. Again, I, too, was blind. But now I see. See. Jose. See. Is that your sister? See. That's another joke. What does she do for a living? So. Is she any good? See. It's Halloween next week. Did I tell you that? I'm going to break out my famous Halloween joke. It's not my joke. I borrowed it. I will give credit where credit is due, but I use it every year because I loved it. Since a while ago. Been using it every year. Great joke, as far as I'm concerned. If you have a sense of humor, if you're not too easily, offended. But anyway, last week I was on my own. Next week, it is Halloween. Are you going to dress up? I'm debating whether to dress up for the show or not. I mean, I think this is scary enough, don't you think? Trick or treat. But it's not only Halloween, it's the last Sunday of the month. And you know what that means. East meets West. The infamous Mr. Bob Paff, Baltimore's Bob Paff, is going to be on this show. No, not really a dad joke. They're better than dad jokes. It's going to be a good joke. If you're not offended, easily offended. You got to have remember the old days when you can make fun of stuff because it was just a joke. But anyway, next week, the infamous Baltimore's own Mr. Bob Paff. I know he's got a lot to talk about. We are going to co-host the show, and we will be having a bitch-a-thon because I know there's plenty of stuff that happens within a month that we need to talk about, both good and bad. But it's a public service to you because we love you. I do. I know Bob does too. He's got a heart, something people have forgotten about having. Heart. It is Halloween. Tonight, though, we're going to go way far in time. She's 18 hours ahead of us right now. And we're going to go back into my roots of what I really stand for, and that's divorce and single parenting and surviving it. Surviving divorce and single parenting because it's a bitch. It's a lot harder, especially in this day and age. It's not getting any easier. And it's happening, by every one that heals and is doing okay, 10 more are coming through the door. Well, after a bunch of people complaining about, what happened to all my divorce and single parenting shows, as divine intervention would have it, I fell upon a soul that has an organization in Australia that supports helping people survive divorce and single parenting through sharing homes and because again, it's expensive. It's expensive to live as a single parent. I mean, most households nowadays, we'll get into this, but either way, she's from the Gold Coast in Australia. Willow, you ready? Shake your head for me. Ah, she's ready. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to bring to you from more than halfway across the world, and she's kind enough to be on my show to feed my 6 million, or is it 3? Somewhere's in between. Depends what night it is, right? Miss Willo Ford. Hey. Uh-oh, I just killed you. There you go. There you go. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I want to thank you for it. Now it's to your advantage because, I mean, at least it's not the middle of the night over there. Over here in the Pacific Coast, it's 8:30 in the evening plus. It's only 1:30 in the afternoon right there for you, but you're already into Monday, correct?
Correct. Yes, I'm halfway through Monday.
Wow, you're halfway through Monday, and I haven't even, and believe me, Mondays are busy, and I don't want to even get there yet. But I want to thank you for, I found you by accident. I go scouring the internet, and I don't know how it came about, but either you liked something of mine or something happened, and I saw you, and I read what you do, and I said, "Be still, my beating heart," because you do something over there that is pretty fundamental to the norm of the world nowadays, as far as I'm concerned. But why don't you give her? Before I forget, I wanted to be a little bit. This is about as Australian as I can get right now. Okay.
Okay.
I got a Foster's beer, mate.
That's so gross. Have you tasted it?
No, I haven't, but I'm gonna. I know this is like being a tourist, isn't it? Right? hang on. I did this for you because I go, oh, she might get a kick out of it. That's not beer.
I don't know. You could buy them over there.
The commercials say that's beer. I can't even get it open. I hope it doesn't spray. I know.
That's the first challenge.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't have fingernails. Okay, there I go. Ah. Okay, so wait. I'm going to taste it right now, okay? Let me taste again.
I hope you've got it cold.
It
goes down better. Oh, good.
Yes. Any beer goes down better cold.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. I mean, I can't really compare it to an American beer, what it's like, but hey, don't do it. Somebody just said don't drink the Fosters. What kind of beer do you favor over there? Or do you drink beer?
No, I drink wine. I'm a Pinot drinker.
Oh, a Pinot drink.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have gotten some. They didn't make Foster's wine.
But I like ciders, and Stella's pretty good. Stella Artois, I like that. Or is that how
You
you
know
say
what?
it?
I take that back because I do drink Australian wine. It's got a screw top on it. It's called a yellowtail.
Yes, Yellowtail.
Yeah, good old yellowtail.
Yep.
I like it. I mean, after the first glass, everything's good.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
That's
so listen,
when your beer goes down well, after you drink a wine.
exactly. I'm going to have to drink it now because I opened it because I don't want to be rude to your country. But anyway, so you're all the way across over in the Gold Coast of Australia, and you have an organization. Because let me ask you something. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick, and that way, and then we'll get started with the questions. Okay?
Yes, yeah. Well, at first, I'm a single mum. I'll be a single mum 5 years come February 16 next year. My children are now, my son just turned 7, my daughter's about to be 5. So my daughter was 3 months old when I became a single mum, and my son was 2. So they're only 2 years, 2 months apart. So that was challenging, bottle feeding both and rocking them at the same time. I moved from New South Wales, which is further down Australia, up to Queensland to pursue a better life about those 5 years ago. Sold my last business, which was dog boarding, dog training, dog grooming, rural in the country, outback Australia, as you would call it. Now I'm in suburbia in the Gold Coast doing shareabode. So it's a complete transition, total transition. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, so you're divorced and you had 2 young children. And again, I tell people I don't care I don't want to get into the he said, she said, and this and that. The fact is, a parent, and whether the father has custody like I have as well as the mother, but I had somebody say to me one time, they go, well, you're not really a single parent because the other spouse is still around. That is true. But when I had my daughter at 3 years old, I had her and no family around me to help. So I had her. I couldn't pass her off and say, look, I got to go to the store for a minute, or I got to go to work for a minute. That's the thing. Do you have help while you're over there? Or are you do you have family, which is what it takes nowadays?
Initially, no. Basically, no. When I moved, everyone I knew was in Sydney, somewhere in New South Wales. I had some far distant relatives up in Queensland, which is why I moved. But my mum has since moved up. I've since accumulated people in my support network. Their dad moved up probably 2 years ago. So he sees them every second fortnight weekend, but generally, and that's recent. So no, it's just me. It's just me and the support network I've created, because I do believe you need a support network.
It's hard. I mean, how do you get, especially with 2? I only had 1, and I know how busy it is. And the thing is, once they get to school, start going to school, one's got to go. The other one doesn't go. One starts going to one school. The other one goes to another school. You got to go to work unless you happen to be independently wealthy, which I am not. And how do you get them to school? How do you have them picked up? I mean, nowadays, grandparents have to kick in and help out because it's just that hard.
Yeah, it is. You know what? My son, so I don't know the ages over there, but my son only started school last year. So he's only been at school for a year and a bit. And, 6 months of that we were in lockdown, right, last year. So I only kind of got 6 months of the freedom of one, and then they were all back home again. So my daughter doesn't start till next year. So I've still got that. So she's with me. She only does daycare twice a week. So he goes 5 days, but they're short days too. Like, it's 6 hours to try and fit your whole, everything that you're behind in those 6 hours. Yeah, but for me, it's, I guess I kind of like am blessed in that I created shareabode, and I did have enough of my financial stability, like savings, to not have to go full-time straight away in work. I got to drop my son off, pick him up, and I always want to do that. I always want to make sure that I'm moving in the direction to create that sort of design of life. Like, obviously that's not easy for everybody. It's expensive here. I don't know about daycare over there, but it is like you just work to pay daycare and you got $2 left over. So it's challenging.
I think daycare that is, unless you have 2 households to where one's making the money to make the money and then the other one's making the money just to help take care of the kids, it's almost impossible. I mean, it is and it's not getting any easier. It's definitely not getting any easier. And that's the whole thing. It's like, that's why like parents have to step in again, and grandparents step in again, and they go, God, I just got through raising my kids, and now they have to do it all over, because life is not that simple.
That's right. It's not that simple. And as I said, I made the conscious decision, like, I'm going to be a single mom. I should move out of rural land, which is 45 minutes away from a shop, to go somewhere where I'm going to have support network. So I chose this complex that I live in, because there were so many kids and adults around, and I'm so blessed that there's a couple of single parents here. So we help each other out. Like, last week I just couldn't get to school to pick up my son, and my neighbor's son goes to the same school, so she picked him up for me. So, and we do this kind of like exchange of, energy and, not money, but energy, and, I'll do this and you do that. And,
Right.
a pizza night on the weekend, and, it's, yeah.
But why did you move away from family? I mean, you're right there, and you're going, and you said, I'm just, I mean, you would think that people want to be closer to family because you need them. I mean, what was your case?
So mine was a little bit different. So the place I was on was like 45 acres, which is a massive property, and it was free range dog boarding. So I bought this land and created this business before I met my children's father. So he kind of came onto the scene like 5 years into it. And because of the role that I did, I lived 10 meters away from work. My clients expected me to be there every single day. So for me, I couldn't just leave the relationship. That would be leaving my whole business, my property, all of that, kind of my livelihood. So I couldn't do that to the dogs, to the staff, to the clients. And he wouldn't leave. So I had to secretly sell it and get it all ready to prepare to be gone. And then I left. So I moved as far away as I could. So it's a different situation. I mean, over time, we speak well now. Like, we've got a great co-parenting relationship, but that's 5 years down the track. Normally, I'd say to people, like, don't move away from your support network if you don't have to. There's a lot of single parents I know that one of the challenges with finding housing is that I'm sure you have the same rules over there and laws, but you can only move a certain amount away from someone sometimes. Like, you can't have a certain distance away because that's considered not giving your ex-spouse time to see the kids. So people are really limited, right?
That's a whole nother court issue. I mean, courts and it's a mess. It's a mess, and it makes people crazy. And I don't blame people for losing it, but my biggest thing is that while you're losing your marbles and drinking yourself under the table, not you necessarily, but most people, because love, again, at one point you guys wanted to die for each other, and now there was a point where you wanted to kill each other, even though it may have subsided. But in the meantime, you got children caught in the middle, and they're looking up, and they want their mom and dad together naturally. And life is just falling apart, and it's hard. It's very hard. And then there's courts involved, and anger, fuels all the emotions, which makes things even worse until you burn things to the ground. Now, not everybody does, but majority of them do. And then it's just a mess.
It is. It's so hard. Like, the stories that I hear are absolutely heartbreaking. And I thought my story was hard, but there are some others out there that definitely, they give me the shake listening to it. Yeah,
it's a mess. Some fare better than others, but I mean, the thing is, why I originally started this whole show was, I found that most people, there are some people like that will talk about things because they need to let it out, which is great, but some people hold it all in and they implode, and they just hold it in, and it's not healthy. And you have kids, and they resort to a bottle of wine every night, and we all been there. And if we haven't, then God bless you, but and it doesn't help the situation. I had a good support network. I had some solid people in my life, but even then, you're still, all that downtime, your head gets thinking, and it doesn't always work well. I mean, and everybody told me, time, just give it some time. But in the meantime, it's like, oh yeah, sure. So the thing was, with this show, I wanted to talk to people to let them know it's not just you going through this, because a lot of people go, why me? Why me? And it's not just you. It's you. You're halfway across the world. It's the same old thing, different place.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you always hear it in the beginning, don't worry, time will heal it all. But it's the most ludicrous piece of advice I've heard in the beginning, because I don't need to hear that in the beginning. I just need to hear that, what to do the next day and how to get by. How how do I, sleep when I've got two kids that have alternating sleep routines and I have to rock one and feed one and do this. And it's just like, it's just total madness. And I think that it's just this overwhelming thing. And, yes, time heals, but you also have to go through all that victim stuff and the blame and all of that to get to that point. It's a growth. It's a growth.
Maybe I could suggest a Foster's beer.
Oh, yuck.
Okay, yeah, it makes me quiver.
It's like when I was young, I'd have Foster's, like the cheap beer.
Okay, so is that the young, like over here in the States, it was Boone's Farm wine. This Boone's Farm. I don't know if they have it over there, like strawberry wine. Oh yeah, it was like oh yeah. You would, if you threw up, you'd never drink it again. But so Foster's is kind of like the young person's like get somebody to buy you a Foster's beer because it's a big can, right?
Yeah, or you have we call it lolly water, and it's like the pre-mixed drinks. I just call them lolly water. It's just like sugar with vodka and flavoring, and it just goes down. Yeah, That's the kid drink. Yeah.
Well, I mean, either way, I mean, there's people that resort to booze and alcohol and whatever to take the pain because they're suffering. But you came up with something. Okay, so here's the thing: you came up with something. And again, the Australian slang, when I saw it, it was shareabode, and I had to ask you because I figured I knew what it was, but bodes, what does shareabode mean? Let's talk about your business.
Okay, so abode, the idea is abode. An abode is a house, it's a dwelling, it's a home, and you tack share on top of that, and it's like share home, share house, co-dwelling type of place. And I came up with that because obviously experiences, isn't every good business about that? When I moved up here, I had no rental history at all because I owned my own home. And over here, you need like a long list of rental history and, character references. And I was the boss, so I couldn't really give a character reference for myself. So the place I found, I had a dog at the time, my dog Roxy, and she was 12 and I refused to leave her. I'd had her for 12 years. So trying to get accommodation that was pet friendly was the first hurdle. I found it and they only gave me 3 months to get out of there, basically. So when I got there, I was already trying to prepare to find somewhere else. So it got closer to 3 months. I couldn't find a rental. It was really hard traveling around, because the borders of Queensland and New South Wales, I didn't know really where I was looking, but I was kind of traveling through both, and it could take up to an hour to get to the Queensland side and then an hour back because I was sort of staying, just on the border. So it was challenging with my kids. There was paperwork to fill out. I didn't really have an office set up where I could just print things and do applications and all of that stuff. Over here, if you don't go to an open house, you can't apply for it. It's a bit different now with everything with coronavirus. But before that, you couldn't. And so I did get a house and I got it through my mum. My mum is just an amazing person. She was also a single parent to me. It's just me. I'm an only child. She was amazing. And so I said, I've got this challenge. I can't get a house. I've got this money. I can be like, here's a year. Here's the bond and everything to give me a house, but they won't take me. They think I'm like some broke single mum, no references, nothing. And she's like, okay, well, I'll do the lease under my name. You pay me the money. And so that's how I got my first rental. Now, the thing with the rental was that it was huge. It was a big house. But I was kind of like homeless, big house. I was really right there. And I had like a week left to kind of move out of this place or they were going to kick me out. So I wasn't going to move back to Sydney to be with my mum. So that solved that. But once I got in and I did that, I could just see my savings dwindling and I wasn't working. I didn't even know the suburb I was in. It was just like, oh, here's a map. Boom, that house there. We'll choose that one. And so I got there and I was just lonely and I struggled emotionally going through all the divorce stuff. That was really hard. And then raising these two children, emotionally, sort of why is this happening to me? That same thing, but then still trying to process it all. And then I was like, oh, this isn't what I planned. It's not what I set out to do. No one sets out to do that. And so I kind of thought, well, what strategy can I do? And I kind of Googled single parent strategies for healing and stuff. Nothing really great came up. It was just government websites and stuff. And I saw this editorial from England, which was these 3 mums came together and they're friends to get a house. It was this big house. They call it the mum mansion. And it had a big backyard, all this room. And then it sounded glorious. They were cooking for each other and helping each other, doing school runs and, helping. The kids were thriving. They were saving money. I'm like, oh my God, that is amazing. I'm going to do that. And then I couldn't find anywhere that helped me with that. I was like, how do I do that? So I thought, well, I don't know. So I put an ad in my local rag, my newspaper, and I had an older single mum say, I would love to come and share your house. That sounds amazing. So she gets a discounted rent. I get discounted rent. Anyway, that's kind of how it evolved, but it wasn't shareabode at that point. It was the experience of it. And I told people about it, all the single parents in all these groups I was in, and they're like, this is amazing. Like, how do I do that? And then I was like, oh my God, there's some interest here. And it kind of just built up momentum. And I was like, I have some savings. I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe this is a sign. I'm going to just go with my intuition and do a beta version of shareabode. And yeah, there was thousands of people within a couple months.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, because I know that, I live in Southern California, and I don't think it's any different anywhere in the other parts of the United States, at least. And I see it every single day that there are single parents that are having to not share a house, literally rent a room. Rent a room where you're renting a room, and yes, you have house access, but it's not 50-50. It's, or this and that. Because people have a house. Some people have a house. They're barely affording to keep it because everything is just going crazy. So they're renting an extra room, and they're taking in an adult and a child because the adult can't afford to rent a house. I mean, it's so expensive. Right now, we're getting ready. God bless what's going to happen to us in the next 6 months to a year, because it's not getting any better. And so they would rent a room. So basically what you're doing, but I see it constantly. I was, in the beginning when I first got divorced, I had to do that. I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to live. And I did that for a very short time, but I had to do that until I can get my bearings together, because I knew that we were getting ready to burn everything down to the ground. And so basically you started a business. So how do you how do you advertise that? And I don't understand how it becomes a business. Explain.
So I've been very blessed. The idea itself has picked up a lot of media attention, especially with everything that has happened lately, the pandemic. It's just because I'm the only one globally that does single parent to single parent matching. Everyone else is just, like you said, there's just someone who just has a house and they're renting it out. But it's very different to rent out your space in your house to someone with a child. It's a very different experience. And I think unless you're in that experience yourself, or you have been in there in the past, it's a little challenging. So basically, you either have been a single parent, so your kids are grown up, or you are a single parent, or there are people on there that pay me to put their house on, and it's just like an investor who has a spare house. Instead, give it to me instead of a real estate agent. So the money goes to me instead of the real estate agent, and it gets listed, and I match people to live in there. So that's the third way. So it's totally free for people to sign up. And the way that it monetizes itself is through my membership groups and through people advertising on the site and, affiliate links and things like that, because I believe it's really important to keep the site free because it's a lower income. Right. My idea is to empower them for a higher income. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. But to say, oh, I'll get your house, but you pay me first, one day, yes, it might monetize, but it might be one of those, I have thought of many different ways, but at the moment for me, it's a connection. I truly believe that what you put out, you get back, and the more in service you are, the more that comes back to you. So that's kind of where I come from with it. I don't mind so much that it doesn't make money, because I have a job that makes good money. So
I get it, because the biggest problem, if people had money, they would not be struggling to try to go through this. That's the problem. It's everybody is struggling. They need to protect their children, have them in a safe place for one, and that's the whole thing. They can't afford to. Right now, things are skyrocketing here in Southern California. It's getting stupid to even consider trying to live here. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. But that's the thing. And then you got every day people are coming through the door, becoming more and more divorced and single and parenting and the whole thing. It's like, how the hell do you survive? So So from what I'm gathering from this, not only are you saying, hey, there's rooms for rent, you're strategically putting matching, just, not just, okay, I got a 14-year-old, you have a 14-year-old, let's put them together. I read something about you. That doesn't work, does it?
It never works. It never works. It's like, my best example is, you've got two single mums, younger single mums, and like, oh my gosh, my daughter's 3, your daughter's 3. Oh, they can have tea parties and we can drink a bit of wine and we can chat and it's going to be like beautiful. But it's like the worst thing ever. Opposites truly do attract when it comes to home sharing, because there is no way that I would put my 4-year-old daughter with another 4-year-old daughter. It'd be like World War III. Like, that would make the house so unharmonious. I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is not all right. So whenever I do the math, because I've done a lot of co-living, so I make sure that they're at least 3 to 4 years in difference in age, because I want the home to be harmonious. If they're too close to age, they got the same education milestones, the same milestones in their learning development. They have the same demands and needs, like pick me up, bottle feed me. It's all the same. And if you have an older one, they tend to take more responsibility of the younger children. It's like a big brother or big sister role. It's really great for single children that are just them. Being one, I know that, my mum did home sharing, so I really loved it as well. But you've got to be smart and you've got to think, oh, I work full time and this one works from home. This other, single mum works from home, or she's a nurse and she works nights. Is that going to be good for me? You don't want two people working 9 to 5. You get back at 6 o'clock, you're both trying to cook in the kitchen. You're both trying to help these 2, 3-year-olds. It's just nightmare. Like, it just won't work. You have to think about how you want the harmony and the routine of the house. How do you want it? Do you want to cook at different times? Do you want bedtime at different times? Do you want them both to go to their other parent's house at the same time? Do you want week on, week off? It all makes a huge difference.
Willow, that's friggin' ingenious.
It's simple, right?
No, it's not simple. I would have never thought of that. I mean, not that like I should have, but I mean, I get it. I mean, hearing it from you, I think this is just that, like, the elephant in the room. You just don't realize that. You would think, oh, it'd be great, our kids are the same age, and this and that, and yet I could see where there could be some conflict because they're doing the same thing at the same time all the time. That's pretty freaking. That's pretty awesome. I'll give that to you. I mean, I don't know how the hell you came up with that, but God bless you.
Oh, just experience. Like, initially, the lady I first shared with, her kids were teenagers, and that was a bit too much of a gap. Like, they couldn't sort of relate to my young kids, but it was great. They helped me out and stuff. But, then I thought, okay, it needs to be someone younger. And then I did try someone younger, and they're a bit too close in age, and the fighting over the toys was really hard, and it created a bit of a disjointed relationship between me and the other single parent. It became hard. And then, I did the third one, and then, there was 4 kids between us two in this tiny 3-bedroom townhouse in this one here. We converted the garage for the boys, which created more space. There's smart ways to live too in smaller houses too as well, that I talk about with them. But you know what? The age difference was 3 years between each child. So we literally had 4 kids 3 years apart, or 2.5, 3 years apart. And it was amazing. Like, my son was looked after by this older kid, and then my daughter looked after the younger son from the other one. So it's like my kids became, I don't know, like carers, and then, followers. And there was barely any fights. It was beautiful. So good.
That's ingenious. I mean, honestly, I've never heard of something like this. That is friggin' awesome. It really is. I mean, you screen. How do you do it? You screen everybody? I don't get it.
No, I don't. So at first I did, yes, but it was very time consuming, and I was nicely pointed out by someone who's in the legal profession that me actually putting them together is me saying that I think that these are a good match, and it actually puts the onus on me if something bad happens. Whereas if you look at all of the third-party introductory sites, like if you're looking at just normal, like we have flatmates.com, which is like the big one over here, they don't do any matching, but they send you people that might be a good match. These are in your area. They may suit you. So there's no, yes, you're going to match. And same with the dating apps. It's like, oh, this person might match you. This person might. So I kind of did that. So I'm like, oh, have a look at this one. They might be good. Instead of you guys work because this, because then they'll come back to me and go, you told me this, and you were wrong, and I'm going to sue you. So I kind of didn't even really, after doing that, was like, no. So they get on. How it works is like, for people who are confused about it, because it is a bit, you get on, you create a profile, just like you would in a dating world, right? That's the best way to say it. You have your photo, you have your questions that you answer. There are all these different questions. I ask certain questions for certain reasons. And then you post it up. You're either a home seeker or a home sharer. So a home sharer is someone who has a home, they want to share, always a single parent or someone who has been one. Home seeker is someone seeking a home or seeking someone else to rent a home with, like go into a rental agreement with through a real estate agent, for example. And so you go in the correct category. And then once you've got your profile up, then you can browse all of the other people that you want, send an inquiry to them, like an email, text, whatever you feel like doing. They get that, they talk back, and I have in my group a guide of like how to go through it and do your own due diligence. So I try to teach them about how to do that. So you need to like any real estate agent, especially if you're opening your home up, you want references. You want to do all the credit checks. You want to do all this stuff. Like you need to treat it like, it's the most important decision of your life because they're with your kids.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So most people think, oh, she's nice, I'll share with her. But then she turns out to be someone who has absolutely no savings and can't afford the rent. So it's not about them being nice. So there's a whole due diligence that they've got to go through.
Right. Okay. So are you doing this regionally, locally? How are you doing this? Are you expanding, going, globally? How's that work?
At the moment, it's Australia-wide. So we have a lot of single parents here. Over 790, I don't know what it is now at the moment. Actually, I think it's 959,000 single parents over. It's crazy, right? But I want to create this into an app. So I'm going to be very soon, now that I have all my social proof that it works, because that's kind of what it is, gathering the social proof, the successes and the testimonials and everything. I'm going to go and get some grant funding and turn it into a global app, because I do believe it needs to be a global thing. Because what you're really doing with this is, in my mind, my belief is you're changing the generations behind you, because the generation behind you, like my children look at me as how they're going to be as adults. Like I want my children to understand that, there's community and in unity, and that even if something's a struggle, you can always ask for help. And it doesn't have to be the easy answer. Like there's ways to live your single parenting life or your life that's strategic but easy. Like it doesn't have to be hard. Like you don't have to walk the path of everyone else. You can choose alternative ways to do it. And I think that, it's like if you could give, like we are the sum of who we hang around with, right? We all know that saying. So if you are a single parent struggling in a low income suburb with really bad housing, you're only going to see people at that level. So you're never going to rise above because you don't understand that mindset. But if you've got two single parents come together, they can afford something better. They are in a middle income, which has better education, better transport, better job opportunity. The people there are at a better mindset. You're growing yourself, which grows your children to become a bit better. So it's kind of like this intergenerational socio-economic belief that I believe can happen.
So long as people understand and know that that's possible.
Yes, that's right.
So getting the word out, as I say it almost every week, as my father used to say, one hand washes the other.
Yes, it really does.
I've never forgotten that, and my father used to tell me a lot of stuff, and I just look at him and go, stop, I'm sick of hearing it, but now that he's long passed, it's like a lot of this stuff resonates in through my soul to like the old man knew what he was talking about. I was just young and stupid,
Weren't we all?
Yeah, we are, and I apologize for that, and I do. We're all growing continually. But okay, so here's what I'm going to do, because I want to continue to ask you questions. But I'm going to actually, I didn't think I was going to do it because I know you're pressed for time because you have to pick your children up. But what I want to do is I want to open up the phone lines just in case anybody wants to call in. 818-259-7983. If you have a question for Willo, it might be cool that somebody might have something. Even though you're in Australia, this will be trickling down. Honestly, I think this is ingenious. I mean, this is a first for me, and I'm all about it because at the end of the day, I'm about the children. If you're not well, they're not well. It's that simple. Most children don't survive if you're just dumping on them. And so it's really important because it's like I don't know, my life changed when I had my one and only, and it's still to this day I live for this child because I brought her into this world, and it's all on me and my ex, but we're doing okay finally. But 818-259-7983. If anybody wants to speak to Willo, you have a question for she's down under, mate. She's a Sheila, and and she doesn't drink Foster's beer. Beer. Doesn't drink. Don't drink. That's like Boone's Farm wine in the States. Don't drink this. This is bad.
No, okay. It's so bad.
That's okay. It's okay. It depends, But all in all, so you've been doing this. I mean, I guess my question is like, how do you manage your time between this and the kids and all that?
You know what? I am pretty scheduled with what I do. I have set times. So I have a paid job, which I'm lucky to do remotely. And so I do that on certain days of the week. And then the other certain days of the week, I do shareabode. And obviously, when the kids go to sleep, I work on shareabode. If I wake up early, like I did this morning, because my daughter's a 5 a.m. riser, I do as much work as I can on that as well. The weekends that they're at their dad's, I work on shareabode. But I also, you know what, it might sound like I'm a workaholic, but I also do a lot of, my own inner stuff. So, the kids come with me 5 days a week to the gym. So we get dressed for school, and then they come with me. They watch me work out because I think that's really important for them to see self-care, putting yourself first, health and fitness and stuff. And then I drop them off where they need to go, or my daughter comes with me. So I'm really regimented, but you know what, like on the weekends, I'm really free and easy with the kids. And we do so many things. And, I think that I tend to go with my intuition a little bit, when I do shareabode, like my intuition is telling me like, oh, get on and do a live with someone and talk to them about something. Or my intuition's like, oh, post this up. But I have my set tasks I do, and I'm very regimented with how I do it, because I know if I don't, the kids will come in and then I'll just forget completely, because they're so good at being in that present moment that I just forget what was my social post or who was I meant to call. So I'm regimented that way.
Okay, I get that, because I mean, I try to do, I try to consolidate at the same time. Like tonight, I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do 26-ounce curls while we're talking to Willo. But
that's right, exactly.
2.
Yeah, I know, right? It doesn't get better.
No, I'm kidding, but I'm not,
dear.
the thing is, I get that, but I just know that, I mean, you got to have good days and bad days. Please don't tell me that you can plow through, because I have days where I'm going, God, why can't I do what I'm doing? Because it's full. It's full. Your life is full. You get up at the crack of dawn. You're going. But now you're obviously, a younger Sheila, But the thing is, it's like no matter what. I mean, tell me that things, some days, please make me feel better. That like some days, like everything goes to hell, and it's like, oh, screw it.
I'm not that young. I'm 41. So
that's pretty good. I'm 87.
You're doing well.
Yes, I am, but I'm just saying.
I have bad days, definitely, 100%. When I have bad days, I don't put the pressure on myself. I just think, what do I feel like doing? Like, I feel like if I keep, doing this, I'm going to spiral further down. So I stop, and then I like go and do something, like listen to a podcast or go for a walk or brush my dog. Or I've really learned over the last 4.5 years to come from a place of, what do I need that's going to make me feel good in this moment? Because if I don't feel good in that moment, something I'm doing needs to not happen, because then that brings me down tone. And it's taken me a lot of personal development work to get there. A lot. I used to just push through and push, struggle a lot all my life. But I think one of the things that really got me through everything is I do a lot of personal development work, and I spend a lot of my spare time, reading things, doing gratitude, doing affirmation boards, listening to podcasts. I'm teaching myself EFT for my kids, when they have anxiety as well. We do meditation together. So I really try and do that. But you know what, when I feel like everything is just not working, I just stop, and I have to like recenter myself, because I do get very emotional about things, like I can't believe this isn't working, this is not okay. And then it just gets worse from there. And then I feel like, you get angry at yourself because it's not working, and then you feel guilty, and then you're like, it just opens up a whole like wormhole of like bad emotions. And, it's always when you've got this many, deadlines, and you're this behind, and then you still haven't done dinner, and you still haven't made lunches for the next day. And then, your kid's like, mom, and, that's when shit hits the fan, basically. Excuse my language, if I can say that.
Okay. It's okay.
Like that's when you kind of like, okay, so I'm already overstressed. Like I should have picked up on that before. So I'm just trying to do that. But when I get to that point, I'm like, excuse me, kids, I need to go to my room for a moment. And they just get it. They've been trained. I'm like, I've got to go to my room and like cry or have a shower or do something. Let's take the dog for a walk. I do. And they've seen me cry and be angry so many times at things in
It's
life.
it's only natural. I mean, you're not Superman. I mean, life is tough. Life is very, very tough, and that's why. But a lot of people go beyond that, and that's the problem. They go to a very dark spot, and that's why I like sharing these stories, because we're sharing stories that's like, it's not just you. It's just, life is a bitch. I mean, and some people get it better than others, but everybody, no matter how. I say the same thing. One man's worrying about $10, another man's worrying about $100,000, but the worry is the same.
That's
It's just as justifiable for that man with $10. I mean, because we're all, at the end of the day, we all we're just human beings, and we all die like anybody else, and we all live like anybody else. And how you handle it is the key. But if you don't, you have to share these stories.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, I did all the drinking early on in the journey because, you want to numb the feelings then, because you're kind of like, I can't believe I'm here. Why am I here? This isn't what was meant to happen. But then as you kind of like, as I've gone on, I'm like, yeah, maybe that was meant to happen. Things change and you tend to kind of like forgive yourself more. And I think that the easier we are on ourselves, it's like you said, we are not gods. Like, we are doing the best that we can, and we just have to be grateful for what we have, the little things that we have, and be kind to ourselves. Like, oh my gosh, how can we expect our kids to be kind to themselves and give themselves self-love if we can't role model that for them? They're only going to learn it from us.
And they are sponges. They are sponges. I mean, especially in the early years, what you put in right then and there is going to carry with them, and people don't understand that. And I've had people that are just so, like, they treat their children like it's their best friends, and they can talk to them like an adult, and you can't do that. I mean, and I've watched the good and the bad, and it upsets me a lot. I don't know. Again, I'm very thankful, but we've all had our share of what you want to call pain. And listen, I'm going to leave the phone 818-259-7983. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it off, and I have a couple more questions for you, because I know that you're going to get ready to get pressed for time. But in the event somebody calls, I'll interrupt our conversation. But somebody's wanting to know how it's going over there in Australia with the supply chain. With is everything going up in price, food, and this and that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, real estate's more expensive. First time in 12 years, it's the most expensive. Our meat costs a lot. Most people don't buy red meat anymore. It's very pricey. There's shelves that are empty. You can't get, like houseware very easily. There's technology as well, trying to get anything sort of, everything's made overseas. That's the problem. Everything's made overseas. So the supply chain is bad here. Us here in Australia, we are struggling in another way as well, like with continual lockdowns and kind of like all the repression and stuff that's happening at the moment is a big thing for us. I don't know if you guys get any of the news of like what's happening over here, but it's insane.
Oh yeah. You guys are almost, in my opinion, it's worse over there than it is over here, and there's nothing to brag about over here.
It's crazy. Like, there is no logical explanation for any of it. It's worse here now with lockdowns and segregation than it was in the beginning. And we don't even have that many cases. So, we haven't had a case in Queensland in like 8 months. But yet, if, somebody in New South Wales gets it, we get put in lockdown. Like, it's absolutely insane. And it's hard here. And I think that that's the other thing about the home sharing, people are coming together more because they fear the loss of community. So they're like, what do we do? Like, we've lost our jobs, like single parents, like the amount of stories of, if we don't get the jab, if you don't get the jab here, you don't get a job. And it's not a legal thing. It's just some mandated thing for control, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I will never be bullied into doing something I don't want to do. And I tell my kids that that's really important not to do that. You have to do it with free will. So they're taking away free will here. Like, my mom, who's in New South Wales, she is not, she doesn't have the jab. She never will. And she's not allowed out of her house. But her friends who've had the jab are. And they're doing that soon in the Gold Coast as well, which is unfortunate. There's a lot of people who've worked, like, all the nurses here. There's this big thing at the moment. They've they worked all through the pandemic, right in the beginning, all the way through, saved all these lives and everything, and now they're all losing their jobs because they refuse to get the jab.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just utter tyranny and insanity.
I think we are pretty much mirror image when it comes to this stuff that's going on right now, and I just hope that we all stand together, and
Mm.
and the people can wake up, and the
Mm.
fear factor. I never thought this would ever happen in a country's like so. I don't even know what the word is, but so I mean, we're not in Iran. I mean, we're not in some podunk third world where it's like where they tell us what they want to tell us. We are one of the superpowers, and they're just destroying this whole deal. And I hope people just finally get it together to understand that this is all bullshit.
It is. It's all bullshit. It's just crazy. It's control. It's just insanity. Like it's just sometimes you just have to smile because it's just so crazy. Like you think, is this Hollywood? Am I watching a movie right now?
In the beginning, I didn't know what to think, but now after assessing the whole thing, I mean, even my 15-year-old, comes to terms. Like she can think for herself, and she pretty much has a pretty good grip on what's real and what's not real. But we go head to head with people. I mean, that truly believe that we're in big trouble and it's working. So I'm hoping that we can all stand together because otherwise there's nothing to be stand together for. But we'll see.
Absolutely.
All right. So let me tell you, I want here's what, because I know you're pressed for time. Tell people how they can get a hold of you, to talk to you, to ask questions, to talk about your business, about sharing with single parents and matching up. Just reiterate for us.
Yeah, so my website is www.shareabode.com.au down the bottom. And you can actually email me directly from the contact page there. That's the easiest way. And I am just, if you look up on Instagram or Facebook, I am just type in Share Abode and I will come up. And I'm in LinkedIn as Wilhelmina, Wilhelmina. That's a tongue tire for you. Wilhelmina Ford. That's how I am in LinkedIn. That's my legal name.
Yeah, because I couldn't find you on LinkedIn up until today, which is like a little bit last minute, but I'll take it. And okay, so here's the thing. So you're pretty much all over the place. You're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, and whether it's shareabode or your full name, correct?
Yeah, that's right. If you Google Wilhelmina shareabode, you'll find anything you need.
Yeah, because you've been doing this for a while. How many years have you been doing this?
So the beta version came out about 3 years ago. So it's come a long way since then. So it's been, 6 months trial, then, so 3.5 years, about that. So it's been a while. Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It does. And you can, I know that just as this show, I've watched the growth, like what it looked like, what we did, what we thought was going to be great. You at the time you think, okay, this is wonderful. But now looking forward, you go, well, that was okay, not so bad, no embarrassment. But now we're doing this, and that's why I wanted to bring you on, and I want to bring you on in the future too, because I want to know how you're doing. I want to see you because I think this is wonderful. I honestly do. This is beyond like let's just put people together. You are figuring because I would have never thought. I'm telling you now, but it makes total sense that maybe not matching up to the exact match because then it's butting heads. That is ingenious. It really is. I'm going to tell my daughter this in the morning.
It's always, it's like people, the way that it's worked out was never how I thought it would. I did initially think it would be really cool to have, all the kids the same age. And I'm so glad that it didn't work out that way. And I got to experience a little bit of how it wasn't and then how great it was without it. Because, because I'm in contact with everyone who shares. So we do about 3.5, 4, successful matches a month. It takes about a month and a half, 2 months for people to really go through the process. It's an emotional process for some of them, especially with real estate not being available. Right. So, and so I kind of like keep in touch with them, and I'm like blessed that they just talk to me about their experiences, and I learn a lot, like what's working, what's not. The ebook I have coming out is going to talk all about conflict resolution and like all the due diligence and how to do tenancy agreements and rental agreements and house rules. And there's so much that goes into it. And it does make it sound complex, like, oh my God, there's so much work to do. But not really. I mean, they're just things that, have your back. If you do your due diligence and you do your house rules and things like that, then it's easy and it's flowy, and your year turns into another year, which might be another year. And then you might buy a house together that's so big you never see each other in, which has happened once. So you never know where it goes.
Time flies.
Yeah, that's right.
You're doing great work. I mean, you really are. I didn't get this until this show right now, even though we talked previously. You're doing a great job. I mean, I think it's ingenious. I really do. I mean, the math of the whole thing, it's one thing. Anybody can put a site together to match up this and that, but it makes total sense to me. Tell everybody one more time, then I'm going to let you go because I know you have to go pick up your kids, and I apologize. I'm keeping it over.
Oh, it's okay. Where they can contact me. Yes, you can contact me on my website, which is www.shareabode.com.au. And I do have American people on there, but they're in my private Facebook group. So if you want to join them, just join ShareAbode, because you'll get filtered through and you'll get an invitation for the free Facebook group, which is where we kind of go more into detail about due diligence and all of that. So that's just me doing that as well. So you'll see me all the time in there. So it's a good way to contact me there.
Education, it's a key.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we're all learning. I mean, look, never in your wildest dreams did you think you'd be going through not only marriage but divorce with children. Nobody ever. I don't think anybody got up and said, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Screw it. I'll just deal with it. It's a bitch.
Never. It's a bitch. Yeah, like I don't think anyone would, unless they have like good financial backing, like they've got a good savings and good family. You don't really choose to go and do that. You don't go, hey, I've always wanted to be a single parent, I'll go do that. Like, it's not
everybody is Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
That's right.
Right. All right, look, I want to thank you again for coming onto the show and taking the time. I mean, this is important to me, and I know it's important to you.
Yeah.
So thank you, Willo, with ShareAbode, for just doing this. And this show lives on. People that have missed it today, you can point them in the right direction to this, because it'll live on forever. And that's the beauty of the whole thing. And maybe perhaps you can come on in the future and we can talk about how we're doing down the road sometime. The year is almost over.
I know. Oh my gosh, it flies, doesn't it? Thank you so much, though, for having me. It's been so good. I love talking about this stuff and just giving people a bit of hope and light that there's other ways to do life.
Well, you did a wonderful job. And again, thank you so much. And thank you for hipping me up. So you'll never see me doing this again. But this is here. I waste not, want not,
That's right. Totally right.
Starting to get warm now too. So
yes. That's right.
All right, well, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Willo Ford, let me give you your last, or just wave goodbye to everybody, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
All right, I love you. Thank you. I will talk tomorrow. Just a little catch up, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye. Willo Ford, awesome, right? ShareAbode, which is slang in Australia for share a home, share your life, share your living. Awesome stuff. I learned something tonight. I did. It's one thing to be shacking up and, sharing a space with other people, with strangers and this and that, but she says, no, there's more to it. It's more to it. It's not a good idea to match up just because you have a 3-year-old and I have a 3-year-old. 3-year-olds will start getting in each other's heads. I want to put you like a 3-year-old with a 7-year-old, a 13-year-old, and have that blend. It's like a nice salad. Tasty. Smart. Very smart. Thank you, Willo Ford. Down under. Now she's going to go walkabout. Awesome. I never know. I'm telling you, I learn something every single day. Every single day of my life. Never a dull moment. Speaking of a dull moment, for those of you who think you want to be on this show and make it never a dull moment, I please ask you to just write us. Oops, that's the wrong one. Big ass oops. Oopsie. Hey, for those of you, let's try again. And cut. For those of you who want to be on this show, just let us know at info@petergshow.com. Tell me what's going on in your life. I'm telling you, you may not think it's that important, but just like Willow tonight, what is she doing that's that important? A lot. And you never know. Your story can get others through their lives. Share your story. You may not think it's that important. Let us decide. I'm telling you. Someday you'll look at it and go, you know what? That person got me through because I listened to what they were saying. That's important. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the first night that I'm getting out of here within reason. I want to thank everybody for tuning into Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show live. If you're not watching it live, that's okay, so long as you're watching. We're getting ready to go into the holidays. I want to remind you, the first holiday we're getting ready to go into is next week, Halloween. Not only is it Halloween next Sunday, but it's going to be East meets West. Baltimore's own Bob Half is going to join me on Halloween evening, which most people will be partying on Saturday night. So let's see if there's even anybody can stay awake after a long weekend. But either way, we always have something to talk about that's of worth. So I thank you for tuning in. It's important. It's important. Again, I host the show, and I never know what's coming at me, as in tonight. It was friggin' awesome. Have a great evening. Thank you, Michael. Again, every Sunday night, and this stuff is on demand. You can find it on YouTube. There's so many shows. And if you want to go deeper into the divorce and single parenting stuff, go deeper into my shows from the past. I'm going to do this in the future, but, you know, I've kind of gotten strayed because there's so much life going on, hence the word Life of Peter G. I just had to do it. Every day I'm getting opportunities to do things to talk about, and it's just really hard. But I do this for you, and I love each and every one of you. I do. So please. Show's over, folks. And as a reminder, I want you to be kind. Making lemonade out of lemons is getting to be a regular occurrence around here. But the fact that you can makes it worth the while. I have many close people in my life that I'm very grateful for. And let me tell you, again, because I get people that write into me and they go, oh, Peter, you know, you're this and you're that. I'll let you know when I'm this and that. Right now, we're all just people. I do this for you. I do this for me. But I do this for us. So be kind, because every day you walk out that door, somebody's going to throw a stone at you. Almost every day. Just have good reflexes, and don't take a bunch of crap from people. But you don't have to make them make you a bad person, because that too shall pass. That was that phrase, right? This too shall pass. I want to see you next week with the infamous Baltimore's Mr. Bob Half. I know he's got a lot to talk about because he's got a new show he's trying to break right now, and so he's pretty excited. But I'm going to throw a bunch of real-life time. We're going to talk about gas prices and stuff, which I know you love talking about. All right, so that's it, basically. Just stay out of trouble. And let me know what you think, all right? And I mean it about when it comes down to the being on the show stuff. Please, let me know, because you may not think it's anything of worth being on the show or talking about something that's going on in your life, but I promise you, it's probably something of worth. But just because you're living it, it just doesn't feel the same. But it may help the next person, all right? From me to you, I love you guys. As always, peace out. Thanks for watching the Peter G Show. See you later.
Peter G Show.